When we look at chordata, I'm usually going to ignore some of the subphyla that are a little bit more primitive, and we'll be mainly focusing on the vertebrates, so the craniata. So a lot of us, that have the backbones, that is going to be what we'll be mainly focusing in on. Of course, we'll be focusing in a big chunk on the mammals, because of course that includes us. So a lot of times when we're talking about humans and what's going on within them, we can actually make some connections with what's going on in your dog or your cat. We'll highlight some of the really exceptional aspects, like when we look at whales, for example, and their respiratory systems, for some interesting comparisons with that. All right. So one of the things that you'll notice as we start to go through some of the topics is that we will come to some phylogenetic trees and start to just take a moment to take it all in as to, all right, where are we at with the system, for example, and what patterns do we expect to see throughout the various taxa. So these are all animals, but you'll notice that they obviously have different aspects to their tissues. How many tissues they have? Do they even have true tissues? What kind of symmetry are we looking at here? So this is a little out of date, but we will be looking maybe more at something like this and a little bit more narrowed in as we look at it. So I saw a quick question.
It's a little before it.
A little before it. So as we look at these, there's a whole brain. This is a little out of date with some of the things, but there's a little bit of discrepancy of, is this a taxa that exists that includes basically some of these more primitive inverts that are there. So bryozoa is this really crazy thing. It's a moss animal. It's a colony of little animals that are living together. And there's some discrepancy of where they truly get classified. So it's kind of a dumping ground right now for a lot of those mystery phyla. Yeah. So as we look at this, this is one that we'll be focusing in on for the next couple weeks. It's going to be a moment where, again, we just take a moment, look at it, see where we're at. And that, again, there's the animals, so including the periphery, and we'll focus in on the aderians and then some of these triploblastic. But notice again, for example, at this point in the tree, the multicellular aspect is one of these defining aspects of our animals. As we'll start to go through, we'll probably ignore the sponges for a good chunk of the time because we'll focus more on the eumetazoa, where we actually run into tissues and other things. Things get really exciting when we start to get these multiple tissue layers, such as the ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm that are there. Notice synapses with acetylcholine. This is something that we'll be also running into with these little bit more advanced organisms and starting to get into a more sophisticated nervous system. So don't take it all in yet, of course, because it's probably very overwhelming to look at right away. But we'll be taking this step by step to, again, understand why are we seeing these kind of trends that go on with the various taxa that we look at. All right. So, quick question for you guys. So as we take a step back before we jump into finishing up some of the classification, I want you guys to take a look at this picture, and I want you to think about what if you had to write a little caption below it. What would you say about it? As you look at it, is there anything that's kind of interesting, any connections that you can make? What just comes to mind? Again, anything goes. We're going to write at least 2 statements. So we'll take a few minutes, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, and then we'll continue on with this. But just looking at this, what are some thoughts that you might have, and what would you end up writing about this? So take a few minutes, and we'll come back together as a bigger group to discuss.